This was almost too easy. Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Lyney! Why did...
Order! Order! Mr. Lyney, allow me to first. When the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Are these claims true? Please answer.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to...
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary?
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order! Your request is reasonable, and we shall...
So you would stick in that case, my dear odd...
Well, this is awkward. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Paimon, we based our entire reasoning on the assumption that not to set the wrong tone or anything.
I'm very sorry. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose the truth is very important, but being completely transparent about Right. So, you be the judge. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster, but still, I'm asking you to trust.
Sorry.
Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's...
Of course. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. During our investigations from that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective...
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this.
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about, which should have been impossible, of course, that voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground. But the countdown was... After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course.
That's the only way we can save...
So, there you have it. The whole truth. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense. Huh?
Time to go. Time to go.
Both parties have returned to their positions. When last we left off, Mr. Lyney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her—
That took long enough. Now, at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Lyney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with He did not realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why— Finally, he used the vase to knock her out! At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that— So Lyney proceeded to knock him out afterward. Lyney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice. And there you have it.
Does the defendant's side have any objection?
Key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What Lyney experienced and what he saw. According to Lyney, he left. Lyney went to the room. Lyney did not take part in the underground altercation.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Lyney did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is, once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again. And finally, he reached the surface. And that's what... Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Carol hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Lyney only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're... Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box, You're saying that he wasn't?
That's right! Lyney wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Lyney, the same clue you used to disprove his alibi, has now become the best proof! Ha ha! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Lyney who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Could there have been a third person involved? Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Oh, the deceased's name is Cowl. Could there have been a third Halsey is the missing person. The deceased's name is Cowl, Lyney's assistant. He would have been able to tamper.
That can't be right.
Oh! What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowl did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to... No one entered or left the opera. The deceased's name is Cowl. The sound we heard made... It would have been tough for both people to... Lyney was not in the tunnel at... No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. The sound we heard may have... It would have been tough for both people to... Lyney was not in the tunnel... The sound we heard may have... The deceased's name is Cowl. No one entered or left... It would have been tough for both people... Halsey's clothing was in... It would have been tough for both...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring...
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the
If only we knew how Halsey...
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3... And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a
Excuse...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lyney was not in the tunnel at that The sound we heard may have... The deceased's name is Cowl. The vase was not broken by chance.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing If there's a similar method where...
How could a person ever be transformed into water? Magic tricks are ultimately just...
Even so, the truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we... Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention, but given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings.
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence... Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the person...
We are still examining the items, but we have already made We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's. The notebook in his backpack claims that the primordial... The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal... The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous...
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy.
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And wait just a minute. Could that mean...
Mademoiselle, wait! What about your pardon?
Let's go. Just...
Order! It is undeniable that further examination of... Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding... Guards, please continue... Mr. Lyney, it appears your hypothesis is...
Of course. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case is seemingly unrelated...
Right! Like the metal hook! Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
The deceased's name is Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick. The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey entered the magic... I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box.
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope, and the number select when the magic box containing Halsey was lowered. The metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Lyney's personal effects.
What?
That can't be.
Does this not, my dear citizen? Lyney did not need to take part in the dissolution of the... Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowell then caused Halsey to vanish, but upon his return, ultimately, he knocked Cowell. Now, as much as I Am I right?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. Is this the...
Oh no! Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this...
I think we've all seen enough. I believe this is indeed... Now then, Excuse me, everyone.
Miss, I must...
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting you. I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared. What?
No offense, miss, but...
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirect. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them? And wouldn't such a trick be the most... Come on, Lyney and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. But as the magic makers and stars of the show...
I understand.
And voila.
Sorry.
Wait, isn't that Halsey?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it...
That'll teach you to underestimate.
Where should I begin? Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian. And I heard that Lyney's show was gonna be a real thriller. But I missed the chance. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and
Hey! No wonder you look familiar. Lyney even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then he even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was on to me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the... There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be...
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now.
This time, we need to tell the entire... The strange sound... The flower vase was... Lillian was afraid that...
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowl leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowl out, and with no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended. that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she's...
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have now come...
Ah, so that's the...
Bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina.
I...
Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leak...
What? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow! Look at that! She's like a deflated balloon now!
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera. As for Lyney, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus from this reconstruction of events. While there is much in Lyney and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the oratories. As such, Lyney and Lynette.
Great work, partners. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordials?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know.
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Lyney, but you, yes? I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen...
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just... We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Lyney, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people... It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea.
And now he can no longer...
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
just going back now? That's true?
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Lyney...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you, I guess. But I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Lyney this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about my past. Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which...
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took after one particular performance at a banquet. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she didn't. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet.
Oh no. But wouldn't Fontaine...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood.
So, she don't...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could... the Knave, might have seen something in me, and so... The House of the... I was hesitant to trust her. I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it.
So, she believes...
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently... Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. We won't give up on defending our homeland. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
It's alright. I just hope you can If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me.
Bye, Lyney!
Time to go.
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case. Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs.
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little sorry. I might have been too presumptuous.
Don't say that, Navia.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire. Sorry about that. Wait, shall we have a farewell meeting?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
You don't have to twist pylons up.
Oh,
All right, then.
There are leaves around, and I know just the tune to accompany them, if you wish to hear it.